Inviting guests onto your show or podcast is a great way to engage a new audience and offer valuable content to your current listeners and viewers. But if your guest is new to recording, they may get nervous when appearing on your show. Here are a few strategies to help them be comfortable on camera or mic and look the best they can with the devices they have at hand. The first thing you should do is communicate as much as you can in advance. In a single email, send your guest everything they need for the video or podcast recording. The question list, the things you plan to ask them, the time, date, and calendar invite for the recording, the expected length of the call, if it's going to be 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and of course, a link to the Riverside studio so they know exactly where to go when that recording starts. Having that early communication is also a great way to preempt some technology and recording issues. You can ask them what mic and headphones they plan to use, how is their internet connection, and do they have a quiet room that they can record in when it's time for the call? Getting ahead of a lot of these technological challenges will help them be more at ease in the moment when they're actually recording. Also, your guest is probably a subject matter expert, and so it'd be great to ask what they would like to discuss, what's interesting in their field, and what they're passionate about. Send an email with all this information as early as possible so your guest has it in their inbox, and then send a reminder the day before with all that information again. This way they don't have to go searching through their email just to find it. Now, if they don't regularly record a podcast or video, here are some tips to share that can greatly improve their video presentation. First off is lighting. If they don't typically record, they might not have their own light, but if they do, maybe it's a ring light or just a small LED, encourage them to use that light. Maybe throw a sheet or white material over that light to soften the look. It'll be a better, more pleasing look. Also encourage them not to sit with a window or harsh light source behind them. All you're going to get is a silhouette on video. If they do have a window in their office or recording space, encourage them either to close the blinds and use one of the ring lights or LED lights they might have, or they can keep it open if they can put some distance between them and the window, and then throw that sheet over the window. That's going to diffuse the light, make it softer and more pleasing for the video recording. And if they have blinds, be mindful of those little streaks of light that might show up on their face or on their person as they're recording. So again, pulling the blinds or opening them all the way and throwing that sheet or blanket over the window, probably going to be your best option. Now your guest is probably using a laptop or tablet to record, and this is the kind of up angle that's going to create when the device is sitting on a desk. So what you want to do is try to elevate the camera up to eye level. They can use anything in their office from books to boxes, so you can get the lens up to eye level. And you'll see this is what it looks like to raise the camera up to an eye level. So whether they have a MacBook or laptop, an iPad, or even a mobile phone, have them try to get that camera at eye level. If your guest is using an iPad for the call, it's most likely in landscape orientation, which means the camera is going to be way off to one side. If they're looking at you during the call, they're going to look way off and it's not going to be connecting with the audience. So encourage them, whatever device they're using, laptop, iPad, when they're talking, ask them to try their best to look directly into the camera. Let them know that this is a great way to engage with the viewers and listeners, and it will help your audience feel connected to them as the guest. So as much as possible, have them look into the camera, and don't be afraid to remind them even during the recording once or twice. Again, use discretion during the interview to make sure that you're not making too many recommendations and making them more nervous, but letting them know that you want them to look their best during the interview. If they're using an iPhone for the call, encourage them to use a tripod with an iPhone stand. Otherwise, prop the iPhone securely with books or other objects on the desk. Try to avoid holding the iPhone because that's going to be shaky, and especially if you have a longer interview, their arms are going to get tired. Actually, if you have the budget and the time, sending your guests an inexpensive tripod and iPhone mount, if that's what they're using to record, as a gift for being on the show will leave a great impression with your guest and will help the recording overall to be the best it can be. Encourage them not to record outside in their backyard or patio. There can be lots of unexpected noises. Wind noise will affect the microphone, so outside is usually not a great place. If they have an office setting with bookshelves as a background, that's a great look. Or if they have a wall that's just a solid color, maybe some wall art behind them, that'll work too. Make sure it's not too busy or distracting. And if you're comfortable, ask for a picture ahead of time of where they plan to record. This way you can offer some suggestions before the actual call. Now, if you have a good rapport with the guest and can offer some personal presentation tips, again, encourage them to look at the camera as much as possible. Let them know that good posture and even leaning in will help them look the best they can and engage with the audience. And of course, use discretion when suggesting appearance or physical changes about clothing. You want them to look great, but also authentic and focused on the content at hand, not just what they look like. Now, on the day of recording, have some easy and interesting questions ready just in case. Now, you've already sent them a list of questions. Maybe they've even recommended some topics that they want to talk about, but have some questions in your back pocket, maybe even some funny ones just getting to know you to help them feel more comfortable as you start recording. Be early. Make sure you're present in the Riverside studio before your guest. You don't want your guest logging in and wondering where you are. Then before you hit the record button, spend just a few moments speaking casually. Again, you don't want to waste their time because they're there to be interviewed. So be clear when you plan to start and stop recording. Now, if they're still nervous or unsure of themselves, ask what you can do to help. Another great strategy is jump quickly to their most passionate topic. Most people will speak with great interest and in great amount about something they are passionate about. And if they go long, don't interrupt. You can always edit and cut later. They may say something interesting in a 2 to 3 minute monologue, and if you cut it off early, you'll lose that interesting tidbit. Remember, you can always edit later. If your guest seems to be shutting down or cooling off and not really engaging with the questions anymore, maybe they're giving shorter and shorter answers, it's better to have a great 10 to 15 minute conversation than try to drag it out longer. Also, if you're mindful of these things in the moment, it makes for a better recording experience for your guest, more likely that they may return in the future and speak about your podcast or show more highly because you were a great interviewer. So those are some tips to help your guests feel more comfortable and look the best they can on camera. If you have any questions, drop a comment below, and of course, subscribe to the Riverside channel. We have lots of strategies, tutorials, and tips on recording, podcasting, video equipment, audio equipment. Again, if you have a question, leave it below, and you might see that video on the Riverside channel. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.